Hi gorgeous, and a very happy Frugal Friday to you. If you're new to the channel, welcome to you. I make videos like this every Friday focusing on drugstore products, so please subscribe to be notified of new videos in the future. In today's video, I'm testing out 5 new foundations for you, complete with end of the day wear tests. So you can see not only how these apply onto the face, but also how they wear after an 8 to 10 hour day. And I say new, there are a couple of brand spanking new foundations that have recently hit drugstores that I'll be reviewing for you today, but there are also a couple in here that have been highly requested by you and are not necessarily brand spanking new, but they are brand new to this channel in the sense that I have not ever reviewed them or worn them before this video. I also want to mention that I use the same powder to set my face each time I conducted a wear test with these foundations, and that was the CoverGirl Outlast pressed powder. First foundation on my list is the e.l.f. Beautifully Bare Foundation Serum. This foundation is sheer coverage. It does have an SPF of 25 within it. It has a very runny consistency, probably from the sunscreen that is in the formula, so this was to be expected when I started using it. A very lightweight application with this one. It was barely detectable on the face, both in how it felt and how it looked. I did like the final application with this one. I do feel like it minimized imperfections nicely on the skin. And after wearing this one for 10 hours, this is what it looked like. It wasn't overtly shiny on my face. My face still looked presentable, and I wouldn't have minded the way this looked at this point. Pretty impressed with the wear time overall, especially considering the fact that most e.l.f. face products have failed me miserably in the past. So I was really happy to see that this one not only held up, but it still looked really good by the end of the day. L'Oreal's Infallible Pro Matte Foundation. I've heard mixed reviews on the Pro Glow foundation, which I can't try because I have oily skin, and the Pro Glow is made for those with dry skin. So I went for the matte version of this foundation. The shade that I'm using here is Classic Ivory. It has a great consistency, not runny at all when you take it out of the tube. Very little of this foundation is required for application. It is super pigmented and it gives you excellent coverage on the face. I would call it more of a medium coverage, but you could build it up to be fuller coverage if that's what you wanted. And it is very lightweight on the skin and has a matte finish after application. And as much as I had high hopes for this one, especially considering the fact that it has a big old red text on the front of it saying it gives you 24-hour wear, I was not impressed by the wear time with this one, and this is what it looked like on my face after 10 hours. It does not last on oily skin at all. Pro Matte my foot, it's very shiny, and it was getting real shiny even after wearing it for 6 hours. What I will tell you though is that it didn't move around my face and it didn't break down, so I was happy to see that. And I feel like if you have dry skin and you tried the Pro Glow foundation, you might have some success with it from that viewpoint. But if you're oily like me and you try the Pro Matte, I don't think you're gonna like it by the end of the day. CoverGirl's Vitalist Healthy Elixir Foundation, and the shade that I'm using here is Ivory. This has an SPF of 20 in it, and it is a fuller coverage foundation. And once again, just like the L'Oreal Infallible foundation, very little is needed for application. One of the negatives with this foundation I did not care for is how heavily scented it is, and it's not even a perfume, it's a very strong scent. It does fade after your initial application, but when you're putting it on, it's really hard to tolerate right underneath your nose. I'm just gonna say that up front. Overall, I did like the coverage with it. I thought it was beautiful on the skin, and only one light layer was needed to get beautiful even coverage. However, after wearing this foundation for 8 to 10 hours, it looked very, very shiny on my skin. It didn't move on the face and the coverage remained intact, but I feel like, again, this is a better option for dry skin. Or if you're one of those oily girls that doesn't mind blotting, this is a great one to try. I mean, I'll just be upfront with you. It's not one that I'm going to wear in the future because I like my makeup to last a little longer than what this did. And honestly, the CoverGirl 3-in-1 Outlast foundation performs far better than this one. So that would be the one that I would go for. but there's your pros and cons. Milani's Conceal and Perfect 2-in-1 foundation, and this is in the shade Creamy Vanilla. This is one that was highly requested by so many of you for me to try out. It is not new by any means, but I had never tried it before making this video. The coverage is medium, and I did like the finish with it. This was not a color match, obviously, but I was wearing some sunless tanner when I tested out this foundation, so it semi-matched me at the time. As of right now, my sunless tanner has faded and it would not match me at all. And not surprisingly, looking at the color range that Milani offers in this line, they don't have a large selection of colors to choose from either, which is rather disappointing. And here we are again. After wearing this foundation for 8 to 10 hours, it was incredibly shiny, so shiny. And there was a lot of movement around the face, especially the nose. It looked like I had sweated it off in certain areas of my face. So it just looked rather blotchy, splotchy, not a good look. The last foundation I tested out for you is NYX's Total Control Foundation Drops. And what attracted me to this foundation is the ability to build it up from sheer to full coverage depending on your own unique preference. And as a guide, they tell you on the bottle for light coverage, use 2 drops, medium coverage, 3 drops, fuller coverage, 4 drops. So I especially wanted to test out the sheer coverage and the full coverage with this foundation. On one half of my face, I did apply 2 drops, and on the other half of my face, I applied 4 drops. I wanted to see if applying more product would decrease the longevity or if the wear time would be the same between each side. Even though I used such a small amount on the side with 2 drops applied, I did like the coverage with it. It was rather sheer, but it covered imperfections on the skin with little to no effort. And same thing for the side where I used 4 drops. The fuller coverage side was a lot fuller coverage than the sheer side, and the results were beautiful on the skin. But it was rather shiny after 6 hours, and this is what my face looked like at the 10-hour mark. It looked worse, if that's possible. I remember looking at my face that day after 6 hours and thinking, oh my gosh! Interestingly enough, I was right in my initial assumption that the wear times would vary based on how much product was applied. And on the side where I had only applied 2 drops, it didn't move around the face. I didn't like the shiny factor, but it did not move or break down. Now on the fuller coverage side, it was starting to look cakey around my face and was starting to settle into lines and was becoming unpresentable in my mind. So if you were going to use this foundation, I would say stick with a lighter to medium coverage. Don't go full coverage with it. And out of all the foundations I tested for you today, the only one I really liked is the e.l.f. Beautifully Bare Foundation Serum. That was the only one that impressed me out of the 5, especially considering the fact that it's e.l.f. and it was the cheapest foundation out of the bunch. Let me know what you thought about these foundations today, or if you've tried any of them out, what your experiences have been with them. And if there are any others out there that you would like to see tested on a future Frugal Friday, please feel free to let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you again next time. Shake, 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 shake. I'm so funny. Really?